Alrighty Rooney.
No.
Just put a little spin on it.
Yeah,
what?
you know.
Alright.
All riggedy, all rigatoni righty, all.
All riggedy, folks.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Whoa, episode 3. We're here. We watched 1. We watched 2. And now we're on 3.
Yeah.
So, last time, we had our cool freeze frame on Eun Chan and Gyul both losing their minds because Gyul has to work now. He's got to run a coffee shop, and Eun Chan no longer has her cool dojo job. So, what do you think happens next, Jaren? What's your predictions?
Alright, so my predictions from the end of last episode, basically, I think the kickboxing dojo that opened up across the street that was mentioned once in episode 1.
Oh, right.
I think all the kids are over there now because they are traitors.
Oh, no!
I think we're gonna stick to the formula. I don't think the show is gonna deviate.
Okay.
Now Gyul is gonna take Mr. Hong on a cool dress him up montage.
Ah!
And they're basically gonna Pretty Woman his whole store.
Yeah!
And then by the end of this episode, that problem's going to be resolved, and Gyul's going to get pushed onto another shabby man that needs dressing up.
Oh, so now we've got a trend of Gyul entering people's lives and leaving them as princes, as you might, maybe, if you want to take the word from the title or something.
Yeah, he's like a prince maker.
Ah. So who is the coffee prince then? Is it Eun Chan or is it Mr. Hong?
We are all coffee prince now.
Oh, okay, good. Or is Gyul the coffee prince?
He's more of a coffee shit kid, honestly.
He might create the coffee prince. That doesn't mean he gets to be a coffee prince.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm down for that. Well then, cool. Without further ado, let's get into episode... Oh, man, it would have been cool if it was episode 2, because that would have rhymed, but it can't. Episode 3.
Here we be.
Here we be. Let's go. Let's go. Hi, I'm Kara, and I'm into rom-coms.
Hi, I'm Jaren, and I'm into internet turf wars.
But we're both into hot drinks and hot boys.
And this is... Just Kiss Already.
I'm
right,
glad.
so we're here to talk about Coffee Prince, actually.
Yes, that's right. So, we watched episode 3. We did it.
Yeah, episode 3 of Coffee Prince. Probably my favorite so far.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you liked it. I was a little uncertain because of what we're gonna get into, but I personally really like this episode. I have a lot of fun with it. We're still like so early on in the series, and I mean like we're gonna keep saying that until we're like, wow, we've said that, but it's episode like 10, and we're actually almost we're on our way.
Oh yeah.
But we are early on in the series, but we're getting some really good, fun moments, and I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not that doesn't happen ever, but just, like, I'm so used to thinking that the best parts come at, like, the middle to the end, that I'm like, man, I forgot how good this is.
So, the title that I'm working with for this episode, we're going Coffee Prince Episode 3, Flat on Both Ends. Yeah. It's more of a double entendre than you think. And we're gonna get into that later.
Oh man. Anyway, so we cut back to Gyul being told that he's gotta work.
Oh yeah. And his response immediately to being told he has to work is just, I'm leaving.
Yeah, he's like, nope.
Yeah, and Mr. Hong is like, are you leaving? And he's like, yeah, I'm totally leaving.
Then he walks outside and he's like, hey, Grandma, I don't wanna. And she's like, that's cool, you don't have a car.
Yes.
And he sees his car getting, like, towed.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, my car! He chases after it.
Yeah, even then, that's not even enough to make him, like, acquiesce
No,
right
we
away.
gotta take away, like, she tells him on the phone, she's like, I'm gonna take away your car, I'm gonna take away your house. And he's like, whatever. And then he sees his car before his eyes getting taken away.
Freaking Mr. Hong is a savage, because, like, immediately he calls him a jerk.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know, I guess there has to be a loser in every family.
Got him.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, cutting back to, like, the really sad reality.
Yeah, we cut back to Eun Chan, who's very sad. And we're like, oh, that's right. There wasn't just this like, funny thing that's happening. There's also, like, a really real and sad thing that's happening.
Yeah, except now Mr. Koo is there, so it's gone from, like, a sad thing to comic relief.
Yeah, It gets there for a second because he rolls up and he's doing his whole song and dance about how he's like, oh, I love your mom, and like, you don't trust anyone except for me because your mom loves me or whatever, and we're
something like that. He's like, the director was evil the whole time. Also, I like your mom.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Want to meet that mom.
But then mom runs in,
Yes.
and she's like, what are you, stop, don't, who likes who, excuse me?
Yes.
I need to deal with my daughter. And then we do actually get this very sweet moment between mother and daughter that I appreciated a lot.
Mm.
I thought this was also very telling just for, just like the way that Eun Chan and Eun were probably raised and stuff, because we do get this very, like, Eun Chan obviously has, like, emotional attachment to this dojo, and she, like, is very upset that it's gone, and she's probably also very upset that, the director of the place just kind of disappeared, and no word, no nothing, all the kids are gone. That's another thing, she's really upset she's not gonna see the kids again.
She didn't even get paid.
Yeah. But, we still have this conversation between them where, you know, her mom is comforting her, and she makes this comment that's like, he probably had his reasons to do so, right? Like, I shouldn't just jump into judgment. And your mom is like, yeah, like, as much as this sucks, like, you know, we see that this is somebody who thinks about, like, hey, everybody's got their stuff going on, and even though I'm upset and I'm hurt, I know that I'm going through a hard time, and it's very possible that other people are also, and unfortunately this stuff happens, so.
There was a very sincere line about, you have to accept it or it will just become harder.
Yeah.
And that feels like it's like a thesis for this episode, or maybe even the show. So we'll keep highlighting that as we go through about how you have to accept it or it's just gonna become harder.
Yeah.
So we cut to Gyul ogling himself in the mirror as usual.
Yes, of course. He's looking at himself and he's like,
He's like, Gyul, nice. Thank you,
yeah.
Gyul. And then...
and then he gets a knock on the door, and he's like, who could it be? And it's this guy who's like, hey, you're selling this place, right? So Grandma has sold her grandson's house while he's still in it.
Like, the great thing about that for me is that we find out that the house is in Grandma's name.
Yes.
Like, ooh, what a brat.
Yeah, he doesn't even, this isn't even his house. Like, this is hers. His car is hers. His house is hers.
Got everything in my grandma name. But that's okay. 'Cause I'm still fly.
So yeah, Grandma is serious about this coffee shop. She's like, listen, you want to go and make your own way? Okay, make your own way.
Yeah.
Don't expect any help from me. If you want help from me, however, do what I want you to do.
He's still gonna fight it, though.
Yeah, oh, we know it.
He's gonna go to Grandma's house. He's gonna eat some milk and cookies.
That's right!
That's such a weird scene because he's like unapologetically like trying to cute his way out of having to work.
Yeah, he's like still kind of trying to like be like cute to Grandma, be like, Grandma.
He's like, Granny.
You know, and she like shoves a cookie in his mouth.
Literally,
like, shut up.
Force feeds him the cookie, much like my own grandma.
Yeah.
So
I love what she does.
This is one of the stronger relationships I've identified in the show. Is the grandma is literally like, listen, I have coddled you for 30 years, and that is my mistake.
Yeah.
I need you to be a successful boy.
Yeah.
Even like more so than the marriage. She's like, I need to stop myself from just feeding him cookies and apartment money all the time.
Then we also have this really, like, so Gyul is mad, and he's gonna revert to being a baby, and he starts, like, being like, I don't wanna work, I don't wanna do it, I don't wanna.
He doesn't even sit on the couch properly.
Yeah, he's, like, kicking.
He's, like, having a little baby tantrum.
And then his dad walks in.
Oh.
And that's, like, he's, you know, because when he's with Grandma, he can have this baby tantrum. He can be fucking like, I don't wanna, Grandma, I don't wanna do it, blah, blah, blah. But when Dad walks in, his dad is like, stop it, like, you're being a child, whatever, and he's like, now we can't have fun baby tantrum because Dad, it's different.
Oh yeah. That was like the fucking, it sucked all the air out of the room when Dad walks down the stairs. Because he doesn't break his stride for anything.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've seen him, like, without headphones on. The first time I think we've seen him speak. And he's not making eye contact. He's not a part of the conversation. He's just passing through, picking up his golf bag, and being like, that's what you get. You raised him wrong. Like,
yeah.
But freaking, it's such a wild scene because you go from Gyul trying to push blame onto his mom. He's like, be mad at her, Grandma.
Yeah.
This is her fault.
He's like, she raised me. It's not my fault. I'm baby.
I like being a bum.
Yeah.
So he's like, give me a job at your factory. I'll be a manager.
Yeah, he's like, there's another way to do this. He was like, I could be a cool, like, manager position. And Grandma's like, no.
I will not hire a slacker as a manager.
Yeah.
And then he's like, please. And she's like, okay, you can get a packaging job for $800 a month. And he, like, hears that, and he's like, how do people live off that?
Yeah. There's a lot of moments where, Han-gyul is like, how do people live off of, like, things in this episode specifically.
Very good with, like, money moments.
Yes. We're really learning how, what his kind of, what it's been like for him throughout his life and how much he doesn't know because of that.
Like, and it's interesting because, like, you hear a lot in shows where they're like, show, don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like, a way of doing that still with dialogue where you have him, but it's the Arrested Development thing. Oh, it's a banana. How much could it cost? $10? Like,
yeah.
Somebody who's just that out of touch with money.
Yeah.
God.
So Dad wants to go golf, and like as soon as Dad walks in, Mom is like, "Hey, let me get you golf clubs. I'll see you later."
It's
and
very
Han-gyul
cute because
is
he
pouty.
calls her Mom.
Yeah.
He's like, "Thanks, Mama." Like,
yeah.
oh.
Han-gyul is pouty though because he doesn't want to be. He can be a child with Grandma, but he can't be a child with Dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. So Grandma shoves a cookie into Han-gyul's face, and then
this is where we get into like the Silent Hill portion of this episode. Because, the real survival horror that I was experiencing.
So initially, we cut to our favorite couple, Yoo-joo and Han-sung. And I initially actually wrote down, time for a regularly scheduled flashback with resident sad boy. I was totally convinced that this was yet another flashback to, like, this is how our relationship used to be, and this is us at our happiest, and blah, blah, blah. We get this little scene of, like,
she has finger socks.
Yeah, she's got finger socks and finger shoes.
And she's dancing on his tummy.
Yeah, and she's, like, climbing around and being like, what's this? Oh,
breaks a shoe off in his nostril.
Yeah, she goes, like, near his armpit, and she's like, it smells so bad.
Yeah, but I escaped.
Yeah. And it's it's very like, what? But also, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, we're gonna cut back to reality where he's, like, drinking a Red Bull and, like, just abusing small animals or something. Like, whatever he does in his spare time.
Yeah, and we get this scene, and then we do cut really quick to Han-gyul, who is on the phone with Yoo-joo.
Yes.
So I thought that we were, like, back in the present. Like, we'd seen that thing.
Yeah.
Back in the present now it's Han-gyul who's going to hang out with Yoo-joo. He gets a call, or does he call her, or does he get the call from her?
I think she calls him.
Yeah. But regardless, they're on the phone, and she invites him over. And he's like, yeah, sounds great. He thinks he's going to go hang out with his cool crush. He's going to have a little fun alone time. It's going to be great.
And you kind of go like, oh, wow, that's weird. She's wearing the same outfit from the flashback.
Yeah, and then Han-sung is like, hey. And we're like, oh, they're back together.
It's the scariest thing in the world that they're acting like nothing happened.
They're back to... Literally, last time we saw this couple, we left off on this, like, scene where he was yelling about how everything he does can never hurt her in her apartment, and she was crying, and he was crying, and there was, like, a back hug, whatever, but tension was high, and everyone was upset, and next thing we know, they're just back together like nothing happened. So yeah, so Han-gyul rolls up, and he is immediately, like, upset, just because he thought he was going to have cool, fun bonding time with his crush, and then Han-sung is there, and he's like, oh. So he comes in, and he's pouty, and they're pretending like everything is fine. They're like, it's our cool friend Han-gyul, like, hey,
they're like,
how
hey,
are
the
things
three
going?
of us back together.
Yeah, look at us, cool buddies, and Han-gyul is not happy about it.
Oh,
rightfully so.
The second
I feel
the second Han-sung, like, gets up out of his chair and leaves the two of them alone, Han-gyul, like, just launches into, like, this very articulate, like, emotionally literate.
Yeah.
Like, he's very responsible and open with his feelings, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's never been, like, anything but direct with Yoo-joo, like, hey, I think you're great, let's date.
Yeah.
And he's like...
He straight up is like, why would you invite me over if he was here? Why am I here?
He's like,
what
you know how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I've told you, I don't understand. And then she brings up something about his dad.
Oh my god, yeah, she's like, hey, so your dad. And Han-gyul is like, what? No, I'm not having this conversation with you. We're not talking about my dad.
He literally is like, I told you that in confidence. I don't see why you're bringing this up.
Yeah.
And then he even starts to get into it. He's like, yeah, like, my dad betrayed me when I was 17. Never mind, I don't have to do this. Like,
yeah.
So I'm like, what did he do?
Right? So, yeah, it's very... very yikes. This whole scene.
He, like, excuses himself, and Han-sung's like, oh, what's wrong, buddy?
Yeah.
And
then Han-sung, like, gets up to do some... I think he gets, like, a phone call, and he literally is like, Han-gyul, don't leave. Like, we want you here to hang out. And Han-gyul is like, dude, no. Han-gyul is like, I'm leaving. And they're like, what? Why? Why are you leaving? Han-gyul, hang out. And he's like, no! I don't want to be around you guys.
If someone can't get over something, there's a good reason.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a hard watch.
Yeah.
I think I took my headphones out and I turned to you at the time and I'm like, there is a bomb underneath the table right now. And it's going to explode at some point.
Oh, man.
And I am so anxious for this relationship to just, like, crumble in a terrible way.
I feel like, I'm pretty sure every single time I have rewatched this, I have been shocked when I learn that they got back together at that point in time. I feel like I still, watching it again, did not see it coming, was like, what? Why are they back together? This doesn't make any sense!
It's scary.
Yes. So anyway... Cut to our favorite.
Oh yeah,
girl,
the fun,
Eun Chan.
happy part of the show.
Yes.
Where there's no like tumultuous emotional baggage.
Yeah. So Eun Chan is at the place where they get the dolls so they can sew on the eyes. And she's like, hey, can I have, like, a second bag? And the dude who, like, works there is like, no, like, that's so much, you're not gonna finish it in time. It's, like, it's no use to me if I give you two. And she's like, please, I'll do it. I have so much free time now. Because she doesn't have a freaking job. Yeah. She's like, and, you know, she needs money. So she's like, please give me. And then he ends up giving her 2 bags. And we see her running through the rain with these 2 giant trash bags full of these dolls with eyes that need to be sewn on. And, you know, it's raining. It's hard to get through. And she ends up, well, she doesn't even bump into him. There's a couple walking down the road, and, like, they stop to, like, the girlfriend is like, your shoe's untied, and he goes to lean down, and then Eun Chan just right smack into them.
Yeah, just walks into him, nothing bad, like...
Yeah, drops the dolls, like, spills them, and is like, oh no, I've got to pick them up. And they're getting angry, like, the dude is like, hey, watch where you're going, and the girlfriend is like, oh, blah, and then, like, Eun Chan tries to, like, solve things.
She's legitimately more concerned about the dolls.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I just have to make sure they're getting wet. I can't let them get wet.
Yeah.
And so she's not responding to all the questions this dude is asking.
Yeah.
Which makes him angrier.
There's a thing that's like, they were holding an umbrella, I think, and they drop it, and then the girl is getting wet, and she's like freaking out about it. Eun Chan comes to like try and like wipe water off of her, and she ends up wiping like over her chest.
Yeah.
And of course the guy is like, hey, boy, why are you touching my girlfriend's titties? And it's like a whole thing, and she's like, please, I just need the dolls, the dolls. And we do cut to Han-gyul, who is in a car driving down. I think he's probably in a taxi because he's not driving. He doesn't have his car.
He's just driving.
So he's in a taxi and he's going down the street and he kind of like sees the hubbub, and then we're kind of led to think that he's just kind of like, what? And
yeah,
then
we're like, oh,
away.
he didn't recognize. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then he rolls up and he goes, hey. Stop it!
Yeah, he shows up, like, to try and be support.
Yes.
And then the couple... This might be, like, the ultimate defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, if you're starting trouble in public as a couple, and then a much bigger dude comes up and is like, hey, leave that guy alone.
Yeah.
If you just start fighting each other the way this couple does,
it
like,
ends up.
you can escape no matter what.
Yeah, because the girlfriend goes, and then, I don't even remember what it was that made her mad, but she comes back, and she tells Han-gyul, she's like, if you let go of him, you're dead. And then she starts, like, wailing on her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And eventually they end up fighting, and then Eun Chan and Han-gyul are kind of like, now is our time to run.
They escape.
They grab the dolls, and they start sprinting away. We do get this little cute scene where they're, like, running away. And Han-gyul makes a comment that's like, God, like, this is the worst day ever. And then they, like, drop the dolls again, and they're like, no,
pick them up. And then they keep running.
Yeah. So we find out that they went to Han-gyul's house, apartment place. I guess it's probably an apartment. More like...
It's the cool, like, rock garden where he was sitting sad.
Yes. It's his place. His, I'm gonna call it an apartment. We cut to Han-gyul's apartment, and, we have this little, like, oh, they're inside now, and for a second, I think Han-gyul is, like, going to, like, shower or change or something, and Eun Chan steps out, and she, like, steps out, she sees the swing, she's like, oh, swing, sweet!
This place is great.
Yeah, dude, she sees this swing, and she's like, this is amazing, this place is amazing, so she sits down, and then she gets a call from her mom. She talks to her mom, she basically tells her, like, her mom is like, hey, where are you, what's going on, it's raining, and she's like, oh, don't worry, I'm at a friend's house. And she's like, but I'll come home soon. And the mom is like, no, it's like super raining. Like, if you can stay the night at the friend's place, stay there, because like I don't want you coming home in the rain.
Yeah,
because she's a good mom.
Mom says like, yeah, you'll be safe with your face.
Oh my god, yeah. She's like, your face is, in my translation it said, your face is enough of a weapon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a much meaner mom.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
I love how I just was like, mom is good. And then also, by the way...
No, it's like a loving...
Yeah. It's the same as like the relationship between Eun Chan and Eun Se and Eun Chan. That's like that sibling. There's definitely... But regardless, mom has given the okay to stay
for the
at
slumber
someone's
party.
place. Yeah, although Eun Chan is not... She's still kind of like, I kind of want to go home, but whatever. So she goes back inside and she sees that Gyul has all of these records.
Yeah.
And she starts touching them.
Just touching them.
I'm pretty sure I literally wrote down, like, Eun Chan, don't, like, you can't just touch people's stuff. But she finds a record that she kind of, like, resonates with her, and she starts playing it, and she starts sitting with the thing, and she gets a little flashback.
Yeah, really sad flashback to, like... I was very confused because, like, who's this little boy? Yeah. And it's Eun Chan just as a child still being androgynous.
Yeah, dude. And she's wearing, cute. Like, her dad's, like, big shirt with, like, his tie. There's a tie, but there's also, like, a tie tied around her waist.
Yeah.
It's, like, a belt.
They're, like, throwing things at him through the bookshelf.
Yeah. It's a very, like, sweet and cute memory and flashback. Like, it's very much like, oh, you know, this is this family that's happy, and they're running around, and dad is playing around with them too, and then like mom comes home and everyone is kind of like half happy and laughing, but it's framed in this like, we know that her dad is gone for one reason or another. And then we kind of like cut back to her just like crying, actually crying, sitting up against this record player, like holding this record case and like crying a little bit.
And then in walks Gyul like, "Buh!"
Yeah, he's like, what the why are you touching my stuff?
You're wetting my records.
Yeah, don't touch my records with your wet hands. And she's like wiping her tears, being like, oh, Zoe, let me help, but... And he's like, whoa, hold up. You crying? Yeah. And she's like, no. And he's like,
She kind of deflects by being like, yeah, well... the dojo closed and I didn't get paid and I didn't get to say goodbye to my kids.
Yeah, she does. She kind of is like, there's a lot going on for me.
And then Gyul counters with, find a new dojo, be a man about it.
Yeah, he literally is just kind of like, you lost your job? Dude, man up.
like, it's interesting because the juxtaposition of find a new dojo, I think it was the first thing he said in mine. Yeah. It's just like, find a new dojo.
Yeah, he's like, why don't you just go to a different one?
Like, if that's what you love doing... Yeah, and it reminded me of earlier, like, if you accept it, you can move on faster.
Yeah.
So he's not saying, like, oh, don't have time to grieve about it. Like, when he's saying be a man, I think he's more saying roll with the punches than he is, like, embrace your toxic masculinity. Like, let the hate flow through you.
This time we're not being, like, man up. We're very much being like, okay, well, like, there are things you can do about this. You need to keep going.
Which, by the way, he has no right. Like...
Yeah, also, coming from him, of all people...
He's like, yeah, just find a new job, poor person.
Yeah, meanwhile, he's kicking on his grandma's couch, being like, I don't want to work.
I like being a bum.
I like playing around. I don't want to work. But yeah, so then we cut to
the kitchen.
Oh, also really quick before we cut to the kitchen, there is like Eun Chan picks up one of the dolls and is like, God, it's wet, and starts just squeezing the water out on the floor. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And Gyul is like, don't, and then she starts using the doll to wipe up the water.
Ooh.
It's just very funny to me that small little like, all right, now that we've had this emotional thing, let me wring the doll out. And Gyul's like, you can't just do that.
Maybe there's some symbolism to that because Eun Chan is squeezing water out of the eyeless doll, so it's like crying, and she just cried, and then Gyul telling her to be a man, she has to re-soak up those tears that are on the floor now.
Wow, you're really going somewhere with this.
Oh yeah,
I don't know where it is, but you're going.
We're going.
So then we do cut to the kitchen, yes, and we making some tasty kimchi fried rice, apparently.
Yeah, they kind of play it as though like, oh, Gyul, you can cook?
Yes.
And he's
Gyul also gives Eun Chan like some clothes to change into. He's like, stop being wet.
Some cool threads,
get into these clothes that are going to be big on you, of course, because you're like small and I'm tall or whatever. Yeah. You know. But yeah, so he's cooking and Eun Chan is like, oh, you can cook? And he's like, pass me the rice.
It's a very like interesting exchange they have because she's like, oh, you can cook, that's interesting, and he's like, hey, did your dad pass away?
Yeah, he just kind of is like, so your dad is dead?
Yes.
And she's like,
I don't even know if she answers him, but he kind of follows that up with like, so are you like the main source of income for your entire family?
Yeah.
And she's like, when are we gonna eat this rice?
Yeah, she does. She is like, yeah, and then he's like, oh, okay, so you're like the breadwinner, as is often used. And she's like, yeah. And then she's got to pass him the rice, and the rice is out of the microwave, so it's hot. And she's like, hot! And then he just kind of like grabs it with his hand and is like, this is fine. And she's like, wow, you can handle heat. And he's like, yes. But then yes, we get real excited to eat. We want to eat the rice. It looks tasty, and we're hungry because it's cold outside.
It's a very cool move because they just take the skillet like over to the table,
yes,
and eat out of that. And Eun Chan has the whole ladle. As
oh my god,
her
Eun Chan
spoon.
literally grabs a metal spoon and is like, time to eat. And then she sits down, she puts the spoon in Han Gyul's hand, and then takes the ladle away from him, and is like, I get the big spoon.
Ooh, the metaphorical big spoon.
Metaphorical big spoon. And they start eating. And she's just wolfing it down. She like takes a bite and she's like, this is amazing. And is just loading up her spoon with this. Just eating.
God.
And he at first is like, what? But then he kind of starts to like smile and laugh a little. Like he's like, this kid.
He's like, oh, great.
Aww.
I'll never have leftovers again.
Yeah.
Now, this is the part of the show that made me the angriest this week.
Oh, okay.
We fade cut to amount of what I'm assuming green tea ice cream with 2 spoons in it, and in the background is a Coke. Now,
okay,
there's a high probability that that's just product placement and like, oh, you gotta have your Coke. But there's like drink missing from that Coke.
Okay.
So in universe, these two,
Uh-huh.
one of them at least, is eating ice cream and drinking soda. Now, Kara, I don't know if you've ever tried to eat ice cream and drink soda at the same time.
I'm not a soda boy. I'm sorry.
I'm a soda boy.
Okay.
I like ice cream occasionally.
I like ice cream, but not soda.
I'll go to Culver's. Culver's send the check.
You know.
And I'll get like a nice Pepsi because it's one of the few places that has Pepsi.
Okay.
And I'll get my my milkshake as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned through like hard trial and error, you have to like commit to drinking the soda first.
Okay.
Because if you take a bite of ice cream, there's too much sugar in the ice cream. It blocks out your taste buds. So when you drink the soda, all you get is like gross fizzy water taste, like you're drinking like the carbonated water when there's no syrup left in the machine.
Okay.
So like who the fuck is the person who's just like, all right, gonna take my ice cream chomp, drink my soda? That's not realistic. It broke my immersion in the show because all I could think about is how terrible it is to just drink soda and eat ice cream simultaneously.
I'm so sorry this happened to
So
you.
that's the one time where product placement just completely ruined something for me.
I really thought you were gonna be angry at like the next plot point. I was not expecting this soda ice cream debacle.
No, I think that's pretty much most of my notes for this episode. Because like,
soda and ice cream.
yeah, I was like, maybe it's sherbet, and maybe sherbet is different. So it's
maybe.
not. I mean, it's just green tea ice cream, and there's 2 spoons, so one of them has to be.
I didn't even notice the ice cream, I'm not gonna lie. I completely had no idea. I'm so sorry that this has affected you so heavily, though.
No. And then we just get into like some casual misogyny where Hongul is like, you sew? That's weird.
Yeah, you know, it's fine.
What a lady hobby.
Yes, but they're sitting on the ground with the dolls, and Eun Chan is like, gotta sew these eyes. And then freaking Mr. I don't want to work is like, this manual labor looks fun. Let me try. And like picks up a doll and is like, I want to sew eyes on the doll.
It's a real pissing contest.
Yeah.
Because she's like, well, you know, I'll do, wisely says, anything for some money. Like, anything that they will pay me to do, I will do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I've never worked a day in my life, but I can do this too.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you have to be careful because...
you have to have the eyes on right, because if you, like, don't hit them where they're supposed to be, then it'll, like, look cross-eyed or it'll be wrong.
You can't sell it.
Yeah, exactly. They can't get the money for it.
And he's like, wow, how much do you get for this? 50 cents a doll? And she's like, nobody would pay 50 cents for this.
Yeah.
This is 5 cents a doll.
Yeah.
Which is bananas.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, we get yet another, like, I mean, not totally out of touch, I feel like, because at least he wasn't like, what is this, like, $5 per doll? He does go for 50 cents, but, yeah, no, actually 5 cents. And like, we're like, yikes.
It's great because it's a moment where he's tempered his expectation. He's like, oh, 50 cents, that's a very small amount of money.
Yeah.
The smallest he's ever said out loud,
yeah.
for sure.
He's never seen a penny in his life.
He won't speak
He
it.
doesn't know what that is. But yeah, and then she's like, nope, 5. And he's like, what?
And then he tries to like change the subject. He's like, so why don't you have a beard or anything?
Oh my gosh, yeah. He just loves to like bring up the most random things into conversation. And this time he likes to say, you're a man. Where's your beard? And Eun Chan is just kind of like, and he's like, you'd think you would have a beard. And then Eun Chan counters with like, wow, you have very pretty hands for a man.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're one to talk.
She says, oh, I don't have a beard because I don't eat much.
Yes, that's right. She says, I don't eat well, right after she just ate all of his kimchi fried rice.
He just laughs. He doesn't even question it. He's like, fucking, you what?
But yes, so we have this little sewing adventure, and then we do have like a little like heart to heart moment a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, hey, so you having any girl problems?
Yes, that's
I'm good
right.
with those.
Eun Chan is like, so I am very good about giving advice about matters that concern love.
And he goes like, oh, well, like I'm doing this cafe thing and it's like weird and I don't know how to feel about it. And she's like, okay, but are you sure that there's no girl problem? Because I could help.
She's like, I could help with the girl problem.
It kind of
Do you
feels.
want to tell me about the girl problem?
It kind of feels like, hey, do you like anybody?
One of the things that I did actually like about this episode was we start to get, so just as Gyul is very honest about his emotions, I think that Eun Chan is as well, but it's a bit different because Eun Chan is a bit more naive and a bit doesn't really understand them as much, but she doesn't like pretend that they aren't happening. Like we do get a few moments where I feel like she looks at like Gyul or Sung or somebody who might be making her heart go ba-boom, ba-boom.
Yes.
And she very much kind of admits to herself that she feels that way. And this is not one of those moments, but we'll get into that later. But that is one thing that I kind of really like about this character is that she's not like pretending like it's not there or trying to tell herself that it's not happening. She just genuinely doesn't understand it because she has had no time to like have that before. So like it really is kind of like a first time experience for her. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm really good at things about love. Do you want to tell me about your girl problems?
So there's a really cool thing that's set up in this episode that I wanted to call attention to, which is Eun Chan is hearing about this love triangle with Yuju from both of the male sides.
Yes.
And what she hears from Gyul is he's like, well, it's complicated and there's this history there and there's another guy and like that's it. Yeah. Like she knows so little that like when she starts guessing about it, she's way off base. Yeah. Compared to what she'll talk about later with Seong.
Yeah. I don't know if you got this in yours, but in mine I had a part where Gyul actually called Yuju a bad habit.
Really?
He was like, it's a bad habit that I keep. Yeah. Like that's what it my translation came as that, but when he was talking about it, he was like, she's essentially a bad habit that I like keep returning to.
That's sad.
Like it's something that he views himself as like he knows that he likes going back to her and he knows that he likes spending time with her, but he doesn't want to feel that way.
That's very good for his character because that's the only instance of him trying to acknowledge that what's comfortable is bad. Yeah. Because his whole lifestyle is what's comfortable and he's not had to work for it. Yeah. And hopefully he can like take that emotional momentum of like, Yuju is bad for me, I have to do the right thing, and also be like, I have to work. Yeah. So it's he's the good guy. Yeah. He's the hero. Yeah. For me.
We like him.
We like the Gyul.
But then we do get into a little bit more talk about this the coffee shop deal. And once Eun Chan makes the connection that it is the same coffee shop that Master Hong works at, she's like, oh, a coffee shop and you would need people to work for you. You should absolutely do this coffee shop thing and you should hire me.
She's like crushed. She's like, did Mr. Hong sell Wangzhou coffee? Yeah. Like,
but then he's like, no, we're working together, and she's like, hey, hire me. And she's very much on this like, you should absolutely do the coffee shop thing. And Gyul's like, yeah, I don't know. And she's like, you should absolutely.
He says, it's a hassle, which is the same thing he says about the relationship. And so she fucking lights him up. Yeah. She's like, everything's a hassle because you've never been hungry.
Got him.
Just try. She says, just try it because there's no consequences, and if you do well, your grandma will be proud.
Yes, she does. She's like, if it fails, all right, cool, it failed. What are you gonna do about it? If it doesn't though, then your grandma's happy, Mr. Hong is happy, everyone is happy. I'm happy because you hired me, you gave me a job. Yes. Yeah, there very much is that undertone of just kind of like, yes, you should absolutely do it, and when you do it, make sure that you hire me. Yes. So yes.
Now we get to the big funny piss scene.
Oh yeah. So we cut to Eun Chan is brushing her teeth.
Yeah,
and she's thinking about whatever Eun Chan thinks about, because brushing her teeth.
She's
is her
like
think
mumbling
time.
to herself.
Yeah.
She's like, "What did he like? Water in the morning? I
Oh
don't
my
drink
gosh,
water
yeah,
in the morning."
because he makes this whole like analogy that's like, oh, that's right. When he's talking about Yuju, he says like it's a bad habit. It's something that I keep doing. It's like drinking hot water in the morning. And she's like, what does that mean? I don't drink water in the morning. I don't get what that means.
And he comes in and he's gotta pee.
He's gotta pee.
He comes in so hot that I'm like, he was waiting for a long time. Like, why is she taking this long to brush her teeth?
And then he was like, you know what? I could just go in there and pee. We're both dudes.
So he runs in. The audio they play, because I'm sure the actor didn't really just like pee. It sounds like a fire hose. Like, it's just so much pressure.
He's gotta pee.
And after she freaks out. She's like, "What are you doing? This is gross."
She's like, "Excuse me, put your dick away."
Yeah, and so his dick is out.
Yes, that's right. It's very important, everyone. The dick is out again.
So the plot is progressing
Of
because
course.
after he says, "Oh, I got some on me," he very quickly rolls over into, "Why your butt so small, man?"
He literally looks over. He's washing his hands. He just smacks Eun Chan's ass and is like, "Your butt is small." And Eun Chan is like, "Excuse me."
It's thin with two ends. Just like, and then at one point he like pets her butt. She's like, "Don't touch my butt," and he's like, "What?"
No, his hands are wet, and he dries his hands on her butt.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's
I think I wrote down
good.
butt hand dry.
Butt hand dry.
Yeah, so he rolls up, he pees, he whips his dick out, he pees, he smacks her ass, and then he dries his hands on her ass, and then he rolls out.
Some real alpha energy in this
and
bathroom
she's
scene.
like, "Excuse me?" Oh man.
God.
Yeah, this is a scene that I knew was coming, because I remember watching it for the first time and being like, "What?"
I think I think they kind of do the good night thing where she's looking at him through his bookcase.
Yes.
Which is very similar to the flashback shot of her and the sister looking at Dad through the bookcase.
Aww.
Now, I don't know what the symbolism there is exactly, but I think it might have been like, "Oh, I'm having fun."
Yeah.
Because it was this flashback of like, "Oh, I'm having fun," and now
Yeah.
it's similar setup. But they say goodnight, and she reaches over like under his couch and just pulls out a bunch of dirty clothes.
She finds this dirty like sock stash.
Yeah, and she's like, "Haha, not as clean cut as you think." Like to herself.
Yeah.
So she's like, "See, this person isn't like a super sparkly demigod. He has dirty laundry."
Oh, it is very cute, because she kind of like through the bookcase is like, "Hey, you asleep?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What if we like hang out and do something fun? The night is still young." And he's like, "No, I'm tired." And she's like, "Okay."
Ooh, I didn't pick up on that exchange, but that's contrasting later dialogue that we can talk about.
So anyway, then we cut to morning, and Eun Chan has left just a plethora of this cute little note scavenger hunt thing over his...
Eun's clues.
Yeah! They're just like these little like foot... I want to know where she got the time to do all of this.
Yeah.
And where she got the cardstock.
Well, when you have to wake up 5 a.m. for your 3 jobs,
you know.
like, you have so much time in the day.
But there are these little like footstep things telling him, and there's a very, very cute shot of him like taking a step and then stepping on the specific note on the ground, and I really like that. But yeah, so he walks over and he finds the doll that she left him, which is the doll that he sewed, which he sewn, whatever. He did it bad. It's cross-eyed, and so she leaves him a little note that's like, "Can't sell this, ha ha ha, so you can keep it.
Take it, dork, also hire me."
Yes. She's also like, "Also, P.S., when you open that coffee shop, hire me."
Remember, kids, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so if you want a job, you have to just keep asking for it.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But he thinks it's cute, and it mirrors the scene of him leaving the watch.
Yes.
So she left him this thing.
So then it is coffee time, folks.
Finally.
It's time to learn about coffee. We get a cool, fun montage of coffee a little bit, and then we do run to Gyul has called Eun Chan over to the cafe, and
he does it in the best way.
Yes.
He's like, "Hungry boy, are you busy?"
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cute.
But she rolls up and she's on her food delivery scooter, and she's like, "What?" And he's like, you know the neighborhood, or he basically is like, I need to go out and like do some field research or whatever. And she's like, okay. And he's like, you know the neighborhood, come with me. And she's like, I'm sorry, if I'm coming with you, then you need to pay me. And he says, you only see me as money, huh? And she goes, yep.
Yeah, do you think I'm made of money?
She's like, 100%, yeah.
That's what you are, sir.
And he's like, whatever. And he's like, come on, get in the car. And she's like, no. We can't traverse this city well on a car.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, then what are we going to do? And then we cut to Scooter Boy.
Yes. Very cute because Hung Gyul is riding bitch. Which is what it's called when you ride on the back of the bike.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah, it's the bitch seat.
So, yeah, he's in the back, and there's this cute little banter of her being like, can you, like, scoot away from me? And he's like, what, you want my ass to fall off the scooter? No!
I refuse. And then she tells him, like, oh, there's a Starbucks and a Coffee Bean, like, 500 feet away from this shop.
And he's like, oh, man,
he's
two
like,
big coffee chains. That's not good. And then they roll past this stand that is surrounded by screaming women.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like... And he's like, what's going on over there? And Eun Chan explains, oh, there's a women's university down the road. And he's like, and what's going on? It's a little waffle stand with a hot boy.
I'm glad that you said he was hot, because I wrote Sexy Waffle Man.
I literally, yeah.
I wonder if they're, like, sort of implying that it's not just for the waffles that everybody's coming over here for.
I'm 100% sure that that's what they're implying.
Okay.
I'm very certain that it's not just these tasty waffles. It's also this tasty man.
Soul tasty man.
Yeah, so he's a pretty boy, and he's making waffles, and all the ladies are like, give me them waffles. Yeah. So Hung Gyul is like, but then the woman in the shop that he's running his stand in front of kind of like runs out and is like, hey, you gotta go.
The pigs are coming.
Yeah.
And so he, like, closes up shop, and everybody's like, no, waffles.
Yeah, they're all like, no waffles. And he's like, gotta run, don't have a license.
Yeah,
gotta get out.
It's very cool to see that, because I've definitely heard about, like, food stands in other countries. Like, if you don't have your license, it's very common that people will still do business and just kind of have to avoid confrontations with the pigs.
Yeah.
Like, it's very good.
So our scooter boys are like, follow that waffle boy. Well, specifically Hung Gyul is like, follow the handsome waffle boy.
I want to talk to Waffle Man.
So Waffle Boy is running with his stand.
Yes.
And they pull up next to him on this scooter, and Hung Gyul just starts basically yelling at him, being like, hey, do you want to work legally and sell waffles? Work with me. And Waffle Boy is like, dude, go away.
He's like, I work alone.
Yeah.
I don't like taking orders.
Eun Chan is like, it's Coffee Prince up on the corner. Come and stop by. And they just kind of zoom off after giving him their job offer.
Gosh.
So yeah, they zoom away.
Eun Chan fills in Hong about the cross-dressing plot.
Yes, she sits down with Hong and she's like, hey, by the way, he thinks I'm boy and I need you to also pretend. And Hong is like, what?
Yeah, Hong being the cool, sensible old man is like, no, what?
No, what? No.
Why? It's gonna get worse.
Yeah, he's like, this is stupid, you shouldn't do this. And she's like, please, because I pretended to be boy and I got jobs, so that means I need to keep pretending to be
she
boy.
literally says he'll pay me more if I'm a man.
Yeah, we come back to this, like, this is survival being a boy.
Then they have, like, a cool conversation about, like, hey, why is this coffee shop failing in the first place?
Yes.
And Hang Gyul is kind of like, well, the coffee must suck. And
Eun Chan is like, no.
Oh, yeah.
The coffee is very good. She's like, try it. And he's like, no.
She's like, oh, the coffee's good. The place is just kind of dirty.
Yeah.
And Mr. Hong looks betrayed.
Yeah, it's this very, we have these two, like, opposites, you know, we have Hong and Hung Gyul who are just kind of like on opposite sides of the spectrum about how they feel about this coffee shop.
They do go out of their way to, like, talk about Mr. Hong's, like, skills. Like, they show the coffee making montage, and he's very capable. Yeah. Which I love seeing shows where the characters are capable, because there's so many times where it's like, oh, bumbling idiot, and he kind of gets through on the strength of his, like, optimism.
And it's like, no, he's just, he does have the skill. Like, this coffee shop has great potential. And then, they talk about, like, Hung Gyul basically pitches his idea.
He rolls out the plan.
Listen, I want to have a coffee shop, like, run by handsome boys.
Yeah, we're gonna appeal to women in the 20 demographic.
Yeah, and he's like, and first we're gonna hire Eun Chan, and Eun Chan is like, but, and Mr. Hong is like, nah, it's not a good idea, and Hung Gyul is like, no, he's trustworthy and responsible, I want to hire him.
Diligent and responsible, like, so good. And he's rolling out his plan. Mr. Hong just starts slapping his tummy.
Yeah, he's like, all right,
like an appeased seal. Oh, and they go over the prince branding again. Gyul is smart and capable. He did his research.
Yes.
He sees that the women's university is nearby. He's like, here's how we're gonna appeal to them. We're gonna get a side menu, and then he gets called a poser.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not about the coffee, man. Says
and he's
Mr.
like,
Hong.
no, I'm trying to make the business better. And it's very much we see these two people who are obviously capable, who can obviously do well. And they just kind of have different feelings about what's going on.
Yes.
Which is kind of nice to see because it's not like they're bumbling idiots, like you said.
Exactly.
Like they are capable and they can do well. They just need to work together.
Eun Chan just starts sweeping in the background the second she gets hired.
Yeah, she's like, I'm hired. Time to sweep.
Yes.
And then guess what, everyone? It's bring your girlfriend to work day. Because guess who rolls up?
Who?
You do.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no, I hated this scene. I just would like to read, if I may read directly. I was typing so loudly and so aggressively.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he was like mashing keys and I was like, Jaren, what's going on?
Kara was like, are you good?
Please, a reading.
So, Yuju is with Han Sung at work and they make me uncomfortable. As a couple, then more uncomfortable as a couple than as a weird, dysfunctional, feuding duo. This is trash. I hate it. Stop this. This is work. What are you doing? Please, it's unprofessional. I hate your freaking guts. Cause they're just dicking around in the booth. Listening to like this happy like love song.
God. Yeah, if it wasn't clear, I should have said it that we did cut to the studio where Han Sung works and Yuju is just there because they're back together now and they're happy.
Trash. Like all the other people in the booth who were just trying to do their jobs. If you ever been in like an elevator with just a couple who loves each other like too much, like good for you, but like not in the elevator, not in the booth. Somebody's trying to start their music career over here. Yeah. And you're just, like, making out in front of them? That's not kosher. Gosh.
Yeah, so...
She gets a call from Donkey Kong,
Yes, Donkey Kong calls.
He calls up and he's like, woo-hoo-wah! And...
That's exactly what
But we don't hear what he says. We can only assume.
Yes.
Because she leaves the room for, like, a second.
And when she's out of the room, he's, like, staring at that door.
Han Sung is. And
he's not happy.
She's gone for less than a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes back in. And he's like, who is that? And she goes, oh, it's Donkey Kong.
She says the full name.
Why did you hang up so quickly? And she says, oh, I was just shooing him away. And he goes,
she's like, he was just asking how I was.
Yeah, you know. And it's this immediately weird and jealous thing, cause like they're like forcing a honeymoon phase. It feels like
we're shown this like we're back together and we're happy and everything is the same, but this scene alone shows us how much that is not true.
It feels like both characters are trying to regress for like other reasons.
All it took was a literal 30-second call from DK, and we're back to this like tense, just like.
If I may continue reading from my notes.
Please, continue the reading.
There's a phrase here. Mm-hmm. Please God, deliver me from this rom-com. And then, before we cut scenes...
Of course.
We get the most unsettling thing I've ever seen on a TV show.
Yeah?
Possibly even including movies, the most unsettling thing. She, like, pushes her hair back and just kind of, like, looks, like, towards the camera a little bit. And the look on her face is like, please God, help me. It's the most unsettling, like, oh no, expression. And I was scared. I was very scared by the look on her face because I'm like, this can only end violently, it feels like. Like, ugh.
We cut to this scene of them and it was just kind of like, all right, guess we're back at, you know, the freaking couple, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it became this, it's so interesting how she literally got the phone call and before he even knew for sure that it was DK, before she actually like came back and told him, he was staring at that door unhappily. And she came back in and he was like, who's that? And it was just kind of like, oh.
To go back to like what she said last episode, nothing I do will make you happy.
Yeah.
And we are seeing that is true.
Whew. So then we cut to our favorite girl.
Yay, the fun part of the show is back.
Eun Chan. And she's stuffing gifts into Hansung's mailbox, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand the context of that, because she's, like, delivering milk, but she's also like, oh, we have these gifts for our customers.
Yeah, I think maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe she does more than just milk. Maybe she does, like, I don't know. But regardless, she's stuffing some gifts into his mailbox, and then Hansung walks up.
We get the return of Sweeper.
Yes, we see our favorite boy again.
Oh, man.
Hangul is second place to Sweeper, I'm sorry.
Yeah. She asks about Mr. A and Miss B, which is how he was kind of abstracting the love triangle from his side of events.
Yeah, actually, she set that up because she was confused, and she was
right.
like, she was trying to basically relay it to him, and she was like, let's just call them Mr. A and Miss B.
Mm-hmm.
And now we kind of have, we're back to that, where she's like, so how's Mr. A and Miss B? I heard they're, what's going on?
He's like, oh, they go for walks and they eat food together.
Yeah.
Like, he does it in, like, a sickeningly dumb, cute way.
It's
like,
very weird.
And she's like, oh, so they worked it out. And he's like, yeah.
And then he's like, however,
there's Mr. C.
Mr. C is also around. And she's like, Mr. C? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, God, it's so weird because she's like, oh, I guess you don't need counseling anymore. And, like,
oh, yeah, she's, like, sad about it.
She does seem sad about it. Oh, God. And
telling you, her heart went ba-bump, ba-bump.
She validates his, like, paranoia towards Mr. C.
Yes.
She's like, I'd be weirded out if I got a 10-second phone call, blah, blah, blah. And
yeah.
Like,
Well, because he does frame Mr. C as, like, he's like, Mr. C is someone that, like, she saw before.
Oh,
and, like,
bad Mr.
it's
C.
an ex and he's bad. And she, obviously, she likes, not even, like, from a romantic perspective, she likes Hansung. She likes his company.
Yeah.
She's obviously sad about the idea that, like, oh, maybe we won't get to, like, talk as much because, like, you solved this issue that I was helping you with. Like, she enjoys him. So she's obviously kind of like, yeah, like, totally, like, you're totally valid. You can be unhappy about this. Yeah. Which,
But she's like, hey, you can exchange numbers with me if you want.
Oh my God, yeah, she's like trying to get the digits.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, if you want, but it's like whatever. And he's like, no, I'll like, yeah, I can give you my number. And she's like, yeah.
So he gives her the number, and she bikes away singing his phone number.
Yes, she's very happy about it.
And there's like happy music playing, and it's well lit. And the whole time I feel like ice in my heart.
Yeah.
And I wrote, "Run, bitch, run." Because this is not anything you want any part of. Like, when she's running away singing the number, I'm like, oh no, she crushing.
Yeah.
It's the dog.
Crushing.
It's the dog.
Sweeper does play
it makes
a big
you
part,
seem innocent.
But yeah, so we do see this kind of, like, developing feelings that Eun Chan is growing for.
It's like a Doki Doki situation.
Her heart... Ba-bump, ba-bump. But yeah, so she gets the digits and she's very happy about it. And then we cut to Hangul meeting with Grandma, and he's like, listen, this is all the money I need. And she's like, nope. Yeah. You can have, like, way less than that.
He's, like, giving Granny estimates. He's being serious about it. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'll give you a third of that. And he's like, Granny, what? He's trying to be cute again, and she's like, bye.
No, she's like, nope, you get this.
He asks the question that I'm dying to know, which is, like, what's our relationship to Mr. Hong?
Yeah, he's like, how do you know this guy?
What is this dude? And they're like, she's like, you're on the same level as him.
Yeah.
Because a couple episodes ago, she said, like, I'll find somebody who's just as lost as you.
Yes.
And so I guess that's them.
I think that was just last episode. We're only on 3.
It feels a lot longer.
Right?
It feels like we've been doing this for a year already.
The episodes are pretty long. They're about, like, an hour each, so...
She's like, yeah, give me all your receipts. This is all the money you're getting.
Yep. Yeah, she's like, you better show me them receipts. I want to make sure to know that you only use this much money. Mm-hmm. So then we cut to family yoga with the Eun Chan, Eun Se, and Mom. And they're doing cute yoga, and then there's, like, this comment. Oh, also, we find out that Eun Chan has filled in her family about the fact that she's pretending to be a boy.
Yes.
Which is, I feel like, I'm so used to a character does something and they have to lie about something that they keep it to, like, themselves and maybe tell one friend.
Yes.
That, like, the fact that she's basically going to these people and being like, hey, here's the situation, this is what I need you to do to ensure that it happens is so good.
And there's, like, this great response because they appreciate the money that's coming in.
Yes.
So, Say is like, oh, it's okay, you're flat both ways, nobody will notice.
Yeah.
And Mom is like, oh, I'll just tell everyone you're my cool son.
Yeah, she's like, don't worry, I'll come show up. Because she's like, her mom is like, oh, I want to bring you lunch boxes.
Bring snacks, yeah.
And she's like, no. And Mom's like, don't worry, I'll show up and I'll tell everyone you're my handsome son who I love.
And then Eun Chan is like, oh, you're right, I shouldn't be doing yoga, I should be getting swole.
Yeah, she's like, I need muscles because I'm going to be a man.
So she, like, goes to the shoe cupboard and gets a couple weights and just starts pumping iron.
Yeah, dude.
We cut to like a show set too, where Gyul has contacted this boy.
Yes, Gyul's on the phone with his friend who seems to work in some kind of show business, but we find out that he's some kind of interior design, because he does tell him, like, they're talking about getting furniture and basically remodeling the cafe, and he does tell this friend, he's like, I'll leave all of the, like, design choices up to you. So obviously this is someone who must know something about it, because...
Somebody who Gyul trusts to be good at that job.
Yes.
So we're getting more competent people even brought into the fold.
Yeah. So then this guy rolls up at the actual cafe later, and, you know, he's scored Gyul a good deal. I'm pretty sure he says, like, they can get the furniture for free, and then, like, someone's gonna paint it, make it look nice.
Yeah.
So everything's working fine. We cut back to the cafe where this guy is there, and he's, like, actually looking at the place and being like, this is what I'm working with.
He's got, like, a cool passion to him where he's like, I can't wait to tear this place up.
Yeah, he literally is like, I saw this place and I wanted to bulldoze it to the ground.
It's, how would you pronounce his name? Jin Harim?
I didn't actually write down his name. I don't remember what it was.
I wrote it down, but
okay, let me see.
I'm really unsure of the pronunciation. So, Harim enters, and immediately he sees Eun Chan, and he's like, I like the look of this boy.
Oh my god, yeah, he instantly is like, hey, you look good to me. I'm pretty sure he even says, like, you're just my type.
You are just my type. Is like,
he just hits on Eun Chan, and we're like, oh.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is, he asks, are you a boy or a girl? It doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
He says he's attractive before he's sure.
He, like, talks about her specific features. He's like, you've got a straight nose, and you've
like
got
a good
sexy
chin.
lips.
Yeah.
And then he's just straight up like, boy or girl, and she's like, boy, and he's like, excellent.
And then Gyul kind of walks in. He's like, Gyul, who's your cool, attractive friend?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's my lover. And he's like, oh, this lover. Lucky, like,
yeah.
So...
There's this very interesting exchange, and we're like, what?
And I kind of wrote in my notes, I'm like, is this boy gay?
He might be. He might be bi.
Is this our representation for the show? Like, ooh.
Guess we'll find out.
It's promising. It's very promising. I already like this character, because he's competent. He is passionate, and he's very straightforward. He's immediately like, hey, you're attractive.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's a good starting point. Please don't go full Han Sung with this and make me do a 180 next episode. Please, Coffee Prince.
Please, Coffee Prince, don't do it to me.
Oh, yeah. And then, oh no, he screams because he sees a rat. And
That's right. They go in the kitchen. He's like, oh
my god, a rat. And so they're like, Gyul is like, oh man, you jumping over a rat? What's that about?
Well, Gyul is like, spooky, but Eun Chan is like, yep, happens. She literally runs in and she's like, rat live? Yep, happens. And she picks up this bottle full of bugs, and she's like, look, I found a bottle of them, and Gyul and his friend are both like, what?
Screaming, like, Harim hops up, like, on the little trolley they have there, like a cart, I guess?
Yeah.
His feet are off the ground, is what I'm trying to illustrate.
Yes.
And is just so grossed out by it, but not Eun Chan.
Yeah, no, Eun Chan doesn't care. She's literally like, look at this, a full bottle. Mr. Hong, I got an entire bottle of bugs.
A roach bottle.
Look at it.
God. And then we cut to the cool, like, Revenge of the Nerds, we're renovating the house montage.
Yes.
Where they're just throwing bags of trash out of the window onto a truck.
And guess who shows up?
CB is back.
CB is back.
It's so good. I kind of really, he's growing on me.
Yeah.
Especially after this point. Because Eun Chan picks up a couch the same way she picks up every drunk person in the show so far.
On her back.
Just on her back, like, bent all the way forward. And she bumps into him, and he's like, hey, he's really cool for me. Because he says, there can only be one sun under the sky. Let's fight!
He is still very much on this, I want to date your sister, who I perceive to be your girlfriend, whatever is going on in his head, and he's like, we've got to fight. And Eun Chan is like, I gotta work right now. We can fight after I work. And he's like, no, we gotta fight. And Eun Chan is like, okay, well, if you want me to fight, then can you help me?
Yeah.
And he's like, yes. He starts helping.
We do, like, a cool fast-forward montage of them doing, like, cool physical labor.
Yeah.
And people comment, they're like, wow, they're a good team.
Yeah.
And I was so happy because I felt like they were setting up CB to be like, oh, a useless dropout character.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the way the show is written, his emotions for the sister feel sincere.
Yes.
He was willing to, like, steal to help her pay for vocal school, which when we find out about her, like, money lending scheme.
Yes.
That's her moral gray area, that he's responding to.
It's fine.
And then also, like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, of course you're not gonna think it's very good. good.
Yeah.
So, like, he is a good physical labor friend teammate.
Yeah, he picks up this couch like it's not like literally Eun Chan has the couch on her back and she's like, huh! And we found that Eun Chan is strong.
Yes.
But CB picks it up like nothing. Like he's
a
like
tall,
couch.
like built dude
Yeah,
as well.
he's
And
muscly.
he's got facial hair.
Yes, of course. And his hair is short.
Yeah.
Real short.
Oh man.
So yeah, they see them working and Han Gyul is like, hey, you want a job? And CB is like, who, me? And Eun Chan is like, no.
I will kill you if you
no,
hire him.
No,
Yeah.
she literally turns to CB and she's like, do not accept. No, no, no. And CB is like, yeah, I want a job.
Oh,
And Han
yeah.
Gyul's like, you hired. And so now CB's got a job. We're slowly but surely forming our team of princes.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's so good.
Who all have their strengths.
And then we keep montaging where Eun Chan like hurts her hand and Han Gyul throws her a glove.
Yes, okay, so what I was talking about earlier, how we have these small moments of Eun Chan kind of like, we really start to see the start of development of like how she is going to feel stronger later on. So we do have one clip of like Han Gyul is working and he's kind of like getting a little sweaty and like he's working and he looks hot or whatever. And Eun Chan kind of like looks over at him and is kind of like, okay.
Oh.
And then later, he's like digging and he's got gloves on and Eun Chan does not have gloves on and she like hurts her hand and Han Gyul sees this and he like takes off his gloves and just kind of like throws them at her and he's like, wear gloves, and then continues to work and like dig without them. And Eun Chan is kind of like, oh, glove, thanks.
Yeah, and they're like checking each other out while painting.
Yes.
It's like classic.
Yes,
so
yes,
classic.
yes. So then we have our new friend, Han Gyul's friend,
Harim.
Yes, he pops in and he's like, I'm gonna have fun with this new kid that I want to flirt with. And he like picks up a little bit of the paint and like smears it on her face. And he's like, haha, got him, playing around.
Got
and
him.
Eun Chan is like, no, apologize to me right now.
She goes full like apology loop again.
Yes,
And
Han Gyul yeah.
He even has the moment where he's like, hop in there.
He literally walks by and is like, you better apologize,
You have to do it.
She's not gonna stop.
And I was like, why is he needing to apologize? That's just being cute.
Nah, Eun Chan isn't happy.
Does not take kindly to paint.
Oh man, so yeah, she's like, apologize to me right now. And then Han Gyul goes over and is like, hey, Eun Chan, don't forget you have to order the coffee beans. And she's like, I will, right after you apologize to me. And this ends up being a whole thing because she needs this apology from him, so instead of ordering the beans, she calls on CB. She's like, hey, you need to help me order the beans because I need to get this guy to apologize to me, so you need to do it instead. And CB is like, okay, what do I do? And she just starts shouting numbers at him.
There's even an extra degree in there because Han Gyul asks Hong to do it. And Hong deputizes Eun Chan. And Eun Chan is busy, so she deputizes CB.
Yes.
So there's 5 degrees of separation from people at the top who could have just taken care of this.
Yeah. And so she's shouting numbers at CB. CB is not good at math and also is distracted and trying to do other things. And so he's like, wait, slow down, tell me. And Eun Chan is like already angry. So she's literally like, don't make me repeat it. I'm going to say it now and this is all you get.
Exactly.
And he is like, okay. And then we cut back to this apologize spree. We finally get an apology out of this boy. And then
it's very cute because she's holding him in place and he's like pantomiming sawing his own arm off with his hand like a coyote.
Yeah.
And then she's like, blood for blood, like recompense, and paints his face.
I feel like all she had to do was just get him back, but like she had to get that apology.
But that's why I already like Harim, is because he's already like playing along. He's like, haha, look at me, I'm cutting my arm off, haha, fun. And she's like, apologize sincerely this time.
Yeah.
And then an eye for an eye, and like paints him up.
Oh my god. Then it's nighttime.
Yes.
And Yuju calls Han Gyul.
Before he even gets the call, there's like a really good moment because he's putting packs on for his muscle stiffness, and he's like, looking good, Han Gyul. And I just had this whole moment where I'm like, looking good, Han Gyul. Thanks, Han Gyul. You're so nice, Han Gyul. Oh, stop, Han Gyul. Love you, Han Gyul. Bye, Han Gyul.
Oh my god.
Bye, Han Gyul.
Everyone, this is written word for word in Jared's notes. I just want all of you to know that I'm looking at it, and it's great.
Then he gets a call from Yuju.
Yes, and she is kind of like taking the high road a little bit, being like, hey, or not taking the high road, that's not the right.
She's apologizing for the mean thing she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I'm sorry I brought up your dad earlier today. I shouldn't have done it. You're right. and they get into a little conversation, and then
he pulls a power move, one that I'm very fond of, where
Yes.
he's like, hey, if you're sorry, like, you could do me a favor and paint me this mural.
yes,
Which is like, I love that. I have friends who do art, and I'm like, hey, instead of like a gift or anything, I would just like you to draw me something.
yeah,
because it's really cool. Like that he has a deep admiration for her work.
yeah.
Like that's been shown, and it continues to be shown in this episode.
So he basically gets her to say that she's going to draw the mural, and then we also have this moment where he's like, can't sleep, and she's like, want me to sing you a lullaby?
And he's like, you know it, like
Yeah.
you knew that was what I wanted.
Yeah, so she starts singing, and then he doesn't fall asleep. And then she's kind of like, well, now singing that lullaby, I'm kind of like awake too. And he's
Mhm.
like, hey, you want to go paint the mural right now? And she's
Yes.
like, yeah. And he gets super excited because he's like, heck yeah, we're having this cute little like midnight mural date. He goes, prepares a picnic. He gets some wine. He gets a cake.
Yes.
He's like ready.
Now contrast that to the earlier scene where Eun Chan is like, hey, do you want to like stay up and do cool stuff?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I want to sleep. And then he goes to like this mural painting all-nighter thing.
Yeah.
So it's the difference in how he views those two relationships currently, which I'm expecting to change over time.
So then, Yuju rolls up, and it's obvious that she kind of was more coming into this as like, I'm coming to paint this mural. So she kind of like sees it, and he's set up a whole picnic.
Mhm.
And I actually wrote in my notes just, oh, Hangul.
Really?
Yeah, just because like, I mean, like, it's not like she's like, what are you doing or anything, but like it's so evident just in like the fact that, you know, he heard this and he got real excited and he prepared this picnic, whereas she was kind of more like, I'm coming to paint this mural because I can't sleep.
Interesting.
So to me, my heart a little bit was just kind of like, especially because earlier in the episode, he's described it as like, she's this bad habit that I like keep going back to, and like all this stuff. And then, you know, the opportunity to hang out with her comes again, and he goes all out. And, you know, it's not like she comes in and she also has, like, brought something for this, like, you know,
Yeah.
something to hang out with. Like, she's literally just here to paint the mural.
I wrote in my notes, he's always picking out wine for this chick.
Yeah.
It happened earlier in the episode when he gets like, surprise, Hansung is here.
Yeah.
And then she said in my dub, or not my dub, my subs, I was worried there might not be wine.
Yeah, he's like, I know you always need wine when you paint. And
Yeah,
she's like,
God.
you know me so well.
I was like, yeah, she's leading into this whole like alcoholic artist thing.
Yeah.
Like she's the Ernest Hemingway of painting flowers on walls for sure.
You know.
Need my wine.
Yeah, so we have this little, like, mural picnic thing montage. Not really a montage, it's very short.
Yeah, the song is playing and like the lyrics are like, I want you back for real, girl. And she
Yeah.
mentions that it's diegetic. She's like, oh, you even put on music. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, is that supposed to be what's playing now?
Oh.
So it's a little bit weird because then he like helps her suit up.
Yes.
He's like tying the apron and he's putting her hair back.
Yeah.
And that just felt a little bizarre to me.
It, like, I know that they're, like, childhood friends and stuff. Like, this whole trio is childhood friends. And it's obvious that it's not, like, he's just kind of, like, this other guy that's around. Like, it's obvious they're very close. I get it. But, yeah, it just kind of, like, I don't know. I think just because, like, I have this contrasting, like, this one relationship that I'm like, dude, what the heck? And then I have,
Yeah.
like, Hangul and Eun Chan, who I just, like, want the best for, that I want him to get away from this childhood crush that he obviously knows is like
It's bad for him,
It's
yeah.
bad for him, yeah.
It was the framing of it and the music and like the wine and him standing behind her. I'm like, this is like the pottery scene from Ghost. Like where Patrick Swayze is just like helping shape the clay. And
Yeah.
I'm like, is this supposed to be romantic because her and Han Sung are back together?
Yeah.
And like that is the question of like, oh, is it romantic for Han Gyul and not for her? Because
Mhm.
when they're having the phone conversation, she has a line that I wrote down. Come on, buddy, stop it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the national anthem of the friend zone. Come on, buddy, stop it. Like
I very much
hard.
viewed it as like Hangul was kind of treating it as a date, and she was treating it as like going to paint this mural for my bud because I hurt his feelings earlier.
yeah.
So then we cut to morning at Eun Chan's house, and Eun Chan is binding.
Yeah.
She's going all in with this. She's like, nope,
Mm-hmm.
no titties. Put 'em
She's
away.
comparing it to neckties.
Yes, it's very funny. She's like, is this how men feel when they put on ties? God, this sucks.
She says, "I'm not trying to torture you," and
yeah,
like
she talks to her titties.
she
She's
talks
like,
to
"I'm
her
sorry,
tatas,
titties."
and she's like, "I'm not trying to torture you. Now that I have a good job, only good things will happen." Which, if you're ever screenwriting,
you know.
when you say only good things are gonna happen, something bad has already happened, and we're about to find out about it. Oh, God.
So anyway, Eun Chan rolls up to the cafe, and she first sees Gyul asleep, and she's like, he's here early, blah, 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 my buddy, he's
cool.
sleeping.
What up, friend?
And then she just hears from behind her, who are you? And she turns around, and Yuju is there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
who are you?
And then we do remember that they have met once before. They
Yes.
had the brief meeting, because Yuju is like, oh, you look familiar.
Oh, you're the scooter guy.
Yeah.
And then Gyul waking up and is like, yeah, he's a thief.
Yeah, Gyul is
He's
like,
a
that's
snatcher.
right.
And it's like, come on, you don't gotta blow up the spot, like.
Yeah, so then Yuju is like, anyway, hey, like, nice to meet you, my name is Yuju. And then, like, Eun Chan's going to shake the hand, and Gyul is like, no!
You can talk to him later.
Yeah, there's this very weird, like, Gyul will not let Yuju...
He's keeping them separate.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He doesn't want Yuju to interact with Eun Chan.
Now, that could be, like, a very sad moment, actually, if you think about, like, this is my bad habit, and, like, this is my new cool friend.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he doesn't want those two spheres to mix, because, like, he's probably compartmentalizing, like, himself with Yuju and himself with Eun Chan.
Man.
So it's surprisingly, like, that was a blow for me, just seeing that, like, no, these two areas of my life shouldn't overlap at all.
Yeah, and then Eun Chan is like, what the heck? And I think this is kind of one of those things where it's like it's a manifestation of the fact that, like, she's starting to get feelings for Gyul that she doesn't quite yet recognize nor understand.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of, like, is angry at, or not angry at Yuju, but just kind of like, that she does this thing where she, like, air kicks at the mural. And, like, we kind of see that she's obviously unhappy that Yuju is there. Like, you know, she walked in and she was real excited to, like, just see Gyul sitting there. And she was like, my buddy's sleeping. And then Yuju was there, and her face kind of falls a little. Like, she was like, oh,
yeah,
you're here.
I honestly thought that she was just, like, she didn't like flowers or art.
Oh.
But she was kicking at it, like, we don't need this in my coffee shop. But I do like the interpretation of, like, she doesn't recognize these feelings. So it's literally like a child, like, kicking out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do with my body right now.
Yeah. So, then we cut to too many beans.
Mm-hmm.
CB ordered, like, 20 kilogram bags of coffee beans.
Yes.
When he was supposed to get 22 kilogram bags of coffee beans.
So they have 400 kilograms instead of 40 total.
Yes. So they're all standing around, and they're like, what? This is too many beans. And the delivery guy's like, this is how many you ordered. And they're like, you should have noticed that there was a problem when, you know, we're a new coffee shop. Why would you order this many beans? And he's like, I called you and tried to confirm it many times, and I was told it was correct. And then Eun Chan understands what's happening. Mm-hmm. She knows that she told CB, and CB is the one who said the order wrong, because she knows that she knew exactly what it was supposed to be. Yeah. And she takes the fall. She steps in and she's like, this is my fault. Is there any way that we can fix it? To the delivery guy. And he's like, no. Like, this is how it is. Yeah. So, once again, we have another instance of Eun Chan sees CB in trouble, and she doesn't want him to take the fall or the blame, so she does something to help him. Mm-hmm. Which I think in this time she kind of views it as her own fault, because she's like, oh, I could have made the order, but I didn't. I delegated it to him. Yeah. And Gyul nor Mr. Hong, I think, kind of maybe recognizes, like, oh, I didn't do it myself, but Gyul is very much just kind of like, I told someone to do this, so it's not my fault. But yeah, so then Gyul is angry, and he says, Eun Chan, I need to talk to you. Yeah, follow me.
Meet him inside. Meet him inside.
Yeah. So he goes in, and Yuju is just chilling inside. And this kind of made me a little angry, because he starts, like, yelling at her and scolding her as an employee without even taking her to, like, somewhere that nobody was. Like, he goes into the room where Yuju is just chilling in, and he's like, hey, what is wrong with you? I cannot believe that you would do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you couldn't have gone to the kitchen? What?
I love this episode of the show the most so far, because this is complex. We've set up the characters. We have their emotional, like, impetus has been established. Yeah. And here's, like, how that line just spikes every few minutes in this episode. Because he vouched to Mr. Hong for Eun Chan. This person is diligent, and I trust them. Yes. And then the first thing that happens is he goes to Hong, deputizes him, ordered these. Hong deputizes Eun Chan deputizes CB's,
Mm-hmm.
and then she tries to take the fall for CB.
Mm-hmm.
And Hong Gyul is even pissed at Hong. He's like, you're a shitty owner, you're lazy, because instead of doing something yourself, you passed it off to your employee, and that's why we're in this situation.
Yeah.
So he's not even only mad at Eun Chan, it's like he's mad at himself, because he's like, I've finally committed to trying something, and I don't want to be a failure.
Yeah.
And now, because of something that I tried to, like, trust other people with, it's reflecting badly on me, and it's hurting our potential relationship with these coffee buyers, because now we've had to beg them to, like, let us return a $140,000 order or something like that. Like, it's absurd.
So then, also, Mr. Hong is big time vouching for Eun Chan. Like, he's very much just being like, it was an honest mistake, like, you know, this and this happened, like, it's not her fault. And also, Mr. Hong is like, when they were talking to the delivery person, Mr. Hong was very much, like, trying, like, not blaming any of the employees, not taking a fall or anything, just being like, this is your fault because you guys should have known that, like, why would we have wanted this? Why didn't you check in with us? You know? So, like, it's very evident that Mr. Hong doesn't want any of the blame on any of the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Eun Chan is taking the fall. Eun Chan is getting yelled at, and she starts to cry a little bit. She's very overwhelmed. I think she's also, you know, overwhelmed, upset with the fact that, like, that she just started this job and she already did something wrong. And I think she's also upset that she's done something wrong in Hong Gyul's eyes. That, like, she feels like she failed him.
There's another dimension here that's really great, is that Yuju is, like, seeing Han Gyul, like, being a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Like, she's present for this entire thing, and then after it's over, she wants to talk to Eun Chan. She's like, hey, can I have a moment alone?
Yeah.
And CB kind of, like, backs out of frame a bit.
Yeah, we do see CB and Harim kind of, like, come in, and they're also seeing what's going on, and we can see, like, in CB's face that he, like, feels really bad, because he knows that at the end of the day, like, he's the one who said the wrong numbers. And then, Yuju is like, can she even tells them, she's like, hey, can you leave us alone? I want to talk to Eun Chan. And then they all leave, and then she's like, hey, she says something to her, and I don't remember what it was.
I think it's like, do you want to get some coffee real
quick?
quick?
She's like, let's get some coffee, and Eun Chan is like, no, and kind of, like, goes to run off. And then this is where we freeze frame on Eun Chan's crying face. And it's not fun.
It's so strange, because I was like, oh my god, she's going to get fired.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't, but he says, like, if you're going to act like this, you might as well quit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's putting the ball in her court, in the kind of, like, responsible person she's been shown to be. Like, it feels like she would sooner quit than, like, make him have to fire her.
Yeah.
So I'm very confused about how this is going to proceed, but I'm super intrigued.
Ooh, and that's episode 3.
So, what did I think about this episode?
How do you feel? Episode 3 end. What do you think?
Episode 3 gives me big hope for the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2, you could tell from my predictions, I was like, where is the game? Like, where are we going to start getting into a repetitious cycle?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's entering into that. It feels like we're actually reaching, like, this more so than a few other shows I've watched has, like, this is happening, so we need to do this, and then this problem is happening, so how are we going to solve it? So, like, I really like the grounding of this. I really like the emotional back and forth that these characters have.
Yeah.
It really went from a lot of line segments to, like, a pentagram shape.
Yeah.
Where we have CB, Harim, Hong Gyul, Hong, and Eun Chan, and all their relationships to each other are actually fleshing out really well. So I can't wait to see how this shop goes moving forward.
Yes.
Because most shows, they would start you with this shop already here and these 4 people already established.
Yeah, it's very common to either it's already there or, like, first episode we meet everyone. And, like, we didn't do that this time.
No, there's characters from episode 1, and now there's Harim who just showed up.
Yeah, he just rolled up.
And there's Waffleman.
Yeah, that's right, our beautiful waffle boy.
He's totally gonna work at the coffee shop.
We'll see.
I want that waffle boy.
Will Waffle Boy show up? Tune in next time to find out. Yeah, I feel like I am having, like, the most fun I've had rewatching this series right now in this time that I am. And I think part of that is due to the fact that because we're actually, like, I'm actively paying attention so that I can, like, talk about it later with you, and I'm also wondering what you're going to think about certain things, which is a lot of fun for me to do. As opposed to just laying in my bed and, like, watching 6 episodes at a time, because I can't.
Wow.
You know. But yeah, I'm definitely having a lot of fun. I really, really liked this episode. I feel like just because of the big smack we have at the beginning of guess they're back together, I was a little nervous as to like what you're gonna feel like, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the other parts of the episode so much. I'm glad that one of my favorite things. Okay, one of my favorite things that has made me gravitate back towards K-dramas and like television rom-com dramas, especially K-dramas specifically. I've noticed there's such a fun roller coaster of emotions, because sometimes when you're watching like a rom-com, you get this like, oh, it's light and funny, and then it gets like kind of dramatic because something big happens, but it's like still kind of light and funny, and then we have the ending and it's like they're together. And with this, I feel like there's such a big like, so many things are happening in one episode, and you're constantly kind of being like hit around with a tennis racket.
Yes.
You're in a racquetball court. You are the ball. You're getting hit. Like, it's so much fun for me. I enjoy it so much more than like when I feel like I know exactly what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time and time again, when I watch something new, I still am not really sure quite where it's going to throw me. And I like that. I like it a lot. I like the fact that I can go in an episode, I can be angry, I can be having the time of my life, I can get really excited, I can cry, I can go from loving a character to hating a character by the end of one episode. Like, I think it's so much fun. And I know a lot of people would probably disagree and be like, that sounds like a lot. Why would you like that? But honestly, I like it a lot. I think it's fun. I think it adds to the experience, and I keep like doing this thing where at the end of my little like sum up, I get a little sentimental where I go, and I'm glad that I'm doing it with you, my cool friend.
Aww.
But yeah, I really am having a lot of fun. I think because I'm actually like talking about it with you, it really makes it cool and fun. But yes, I'm very excited for us to finally get into this like coffee shop plot. I cannot wait for us to get into the coffee shop shenanigans. But yeah, I guess that's all we've got for episode 3. So we'll catch you guys next time, where we go in chronological order as always and check out episode 4.
Knock knock, open up the door. It's 4.
Oh, that was a good one. I like that.
Thank you. I was holding on to it for a while.
You're ready for more with episode 4.
Ooh.
I went simple. So.
We love to adore this episode 4.
Oh, man. All right. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.